The cemetery was silent in the way only grief can make a place silent, heavy, pressing, as if the air itself was mourning. Black marble headstones stretched endlessly under a gray sky, but the billionaire noticed none of them. His world had narrowed to one grave. One name carved too deeply into stone and into his chest. Eleanor Hayes. His wife. His anchor. The woman who had believed in him when he was nothing more than a restless man with impossible dreams and empty pockets. He stood there in an immaculate black suit that cost more than most people's monthly income, yet for the third year in a row, he felt poorer than he had ever been. Money had built empires, bent markets, and bought silence, but it had not bought her back. He placed a single white rose on the grave with trembling fingers. "I'm still trying," he whispered, voice cracking. "But I don't know who I am without you." As he turned to leave, a faint sound stopped him. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a whisper carried by the wind, fragile as a dying candle. "Mama, please don't cry." He froze. Slowly, he followed the sound to the far edge of the cemetery, where polished stones gave way to broken earth and forgotten graves. There, crouched beside a weathered headstone with no name, was a homeless girl. She couldn't have been more than 20. Her clothes were thin, torn at the seams, her shoes worn down to the sole. In her arms were two infants wrapped in mismatched blankets, twins. One slept fitfully. The other stared at the sky with wide, knowing eyes. The girl rocked them gently, tears sliding down her hollow cheeks. "Shoo. Mama's here," she whispered again, barely audible. "I won't let the world take you too." The billionaire felt something twist violently inside him. He had seen poverty before, on reports, in numbers, from a distance. But this was different. This was raw. Real. Unavoidable. He approached slowly, unsure why his feet were moving at all. "Miss," he said softly, careful not to startle her. She looked up, panic flashing across her face as she instinctively pulled the twins closer, shielding them as if he were a threat. Her eyes were red, exhausted, yet fierce with a kind of love that had no room for fear. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to be here. We'll go. Please don't call anyone." Her voice broke on the last word. "I won't," he said immediately, surprised by the urgency in his own tone. "You're not in trouble." She hesitated, studying him, the tailored suit, the polished shoes, the men who clearly belonged to a different world. "Why are you here?" she asked quietly. He swallowed. "My wife," he said, nodding toward the grave behind him. "She's buried here." The girl's expression softened. She looked down at the babies, then back at him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Losing someone, it feels like the ground disappears." Her words hit him harder than any condolence he had received in years. Because she understood. Because she was standing on that disappearing ground every single day. He noticed then how thin the twins were, how the girl's hands shook from hunger, how her eyes kept darting around, always alert. "How long have you been on the streets?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then answered, "Since the twins were born." His breath caught. "Where's their father?" The girl looked away, jaw tightening. "Gone," she said. "Like everyone else." She adjusted the blanket around one baby and whispered something so soft he almost missed it. "I promised them they'd be safe. Even if I wasn't." That was the moment something inside him finally broke. Not cracked. Shattered. He remembered Eleanor in the hospital years ago, whispering about the children they never had, about wanting to adopt someday, about believing love could save people. And here, in front of him, was love fighting to survive with nothing but whispers and worn blankets. "Do you have a name?" he asked. "Lena," she replied. "And these are Noah and Eli." He crouched down despite the dirt, the suit, the world watching. "Lena," he said, voice unsteady, "you shouldn't be alone like this." She let out a bitter laugh. "Alone is all I've ever known." One of the twins began to cry, a weak, desperate sound. Lena's face crumpled as she tried to soothe him. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the baby, tears falling. "I'm trying. I really am." The billionaire reached out without thinking, resting a hand near her, not touching, just there. "You don't have to try alone anymore," he said. She looked up, eyes full of disbelief. People say that, she murmured. Then they walk away. He shook his head slowly. I'm not walking away. His phone buzzed in his pocket, meetings, deals, an empire demanding attention. For the first time, he ignored it. Come with me, he said. I can help. Fear flickered across her face. Why? She asked. He glanced back at Eleanor's grave, then at the twins. Because my wife believed love should never pass by suffering, he said. And because your whisper just saved me from a life of emptiness. Lena hesitated, then whispered, I just wanted them to live. He felt tears spill freely now, unashamed. They will, he promised. As they stood together among the graves, something shifted, quietly, powerfully. This was not charity. This was destiny colliding with grief. And as the wind carried away the echoes of loss, a new story began, one of redemption, of chosen family, of love rising from the coldest ground. If this story moved you, if you believe kindness can change lives and that even the smallest whisper can shatter the strongest walls, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. Because the next chapter of hope might be the one you didn't know you needed.